Hi, Dave here, and today we're going to check out the work of Yuxing Zhang. He's actually kind of cool, because he's a keyframe artist. I mean, he's also a concept artist, but based on his portfolio, I don't see... He doesn't have a lot of sketches, you know? He's more of a... Like, a lot of his work seems, or is, finished, right? And I would put him in the category of, or with, Alexander Mandrajev. He's also a very, very popular and skilled keyframe artist. They're kind of a niche field, right? You have to be a bit of a concept artist and a storyboard type of person at the same time. Just because a lot of your work involves, well, storytelling to a high level, you know, when it comes to like there has to be storytelling, right? A narrative, but it has to be well done. Like, it should actually be some kind of frame, like a key frame in the film, right? Or game. So it's kind of very, very interesting subfield in concept art or illustration. So yeah. Oh, by the way, this guy does have a Twitter and an Instagram, so if you would like to check out his work, I do recommend you follow him over there. Links will be in the description below. Okay, so he obviously does photo bash, right? But a lot of his work is so well blended, right? It has that very natural look to it. Like, it's hard to see the brush strokes. I mean, obviously you can see like the brush spacing sometimes, right? And there is a bit of that excuse me, that kind of grittiness. There are like Darek Zabrocki vibes in his work, but it's so high quality, right? Maybe he's using 3D sometimes. It's hard to say, maybe kind of as a base, right? But again, in the end, it just looks kind of it looks cohesive, right? Even if you look at his whole portfolio, like, there is this consistent style, right? And it's just super nice. And a lot of his lighting is pretty interesting. He's kind of like, again, like Alexander Mandrajev, right? Although I feel like Alexander is more dark. And Yuxing is more of, or Zhang is more of a sunset. I see a lot of like sunset, sunrise types of lighting schemes in his work. Maybe this guy's more of a morning kind of person, like an early morning person, I feel like, right? Or a very, very sunsetty kind of guy, right? This one does remind me a bit of like the strokes, the very kind of vertical strokes. It's very, very similar to Mandrajev, right? And this one's more of a sketch, right? And you can see Loki over here. It's a great, quick. It's more of a storyboard, right? It's not super finished, but it does have the narrative in it, right? And again, I do like seeing that brush spacing in his work. Lots of textures, right? Very, very on the realistic side. He's not very stylized in any way. You know, again, he's working again for films, so kind of it makes sense, right? And look at the amount of hue variety in his work. It's not boring, right? I mean, obviously there is like one color theme, but there's going to be a variation of stuff in it, right? Variation of hues. And I think the texture brushes do help to kind of just add a bit of fluff, like within each major shape. And look at how the top of the building just kind of breaks down. It feels like it was done with a lasso tool, right? It doesn't have to be that complicated for you to be able to say something with the piece, right? We have Spidey over here. I do like seeing the purples in the edge, right? You can see the area in light, area in shadow, and kind of in the edge there's a bit of purple in it, kind of a shift in light. Very, very cool and interesting, right? I see a lot of mixer brush use, a very, very painterly type of person. And he likes dragging paint, I think, or making these big kind of brush strokes to fill in like big areas, and you can actually see the kind of dragging of the paint. And I think that really helps to make his work more somewhat natural, right? And look at the shadows down here. Wow, right? It has a very artsy vibe to it. Like it is reds and blues, and the violet purple is very, very spread out, right? You can see it. You can see that in Spidey's costume or attire, and as well as in the shadows and even in the trees, right? Yeah. Anyway, maybe Spidey's in some kind of bridge, I think. Hard to say. And look at how the mixer brush was used here. Maybe he does it after, I'm not sure. But and shots like these are very, very complicated, just because you're kind of skewing the it's not like a basic standard view. You're kind of tilting the camera a bit, so it's kind of weird and, you know, hard, I guess. Here we have some kind of magical babe, right? I mean, this could have been done. It's hard to. I don't really know what the process is for using Zhang. It's kind of hard to just break it down without having or without seeing his actual breakdown. But I do feel like it's just a well photo bash. I don't even think he's using 3D for the most part. That's just my guess, but yeah. Right? And look at how you can save so much time with just bashing in a photo, right? Those textures look amazing. And again, the lighting, it looks so real, like it's from a film, but it still has that artistic look to it. Like you can see the up and down brush strokes even in the shadows, right? So it kind of ties everything together and makes it look like his and an actual art piece, right? Look at the lighting done here again with the shifts in light. There's this area in shadow, area in light, and there's a bit of yellow in the edge. Very, very interesting, right? And again, that brush spacing looks amazing. Ooh, right? I don't see a lot of round brush, like basic round brush being used. I think he's more of a, like he likes to blend the photos and the paint a lot, right? I see a lot of, I'm guessing, mixer brush use. Maybe he does add noise, I think. I think he does add a bit of noise to his work. Now this is another complex or hard shot, at least for me, because you're seeing it from above. Reminds me a bit of Mikhail Sotryk. Fuck. I did an art review of his work as well. Lots of graphical shapes being used here. These leaves were photo bashed in, obviously, but look at how well blended it is. Like it fits, right? Everything just fits. Maybe this guy has a bit of matte painting experience. I'm just guessing because it feels like you are in the environment, right? And again, it's super realistic, you know? Maybe it's basing it off of a frame in different films, right? Because the lighting is it's a bit too accurate for me, so it's kind of scary, right? I do like the splatter brush being used here, right? Maybe it's supposed to be dust, but it adds that nice variety, brush variety, right? Because if everything is kind of perfect, in terms of like the proportions and the lighting, something needs to be not as perfect. And I do think that brush variety helps with that chaoticness, right? Even here in the water, I would say, right? In this kind of pond pool. Holy shit, that's koi fish, right? Damn, look at the reflections in the water. Fuck me, right? This was some kind of custom brush being used. I mean, look at how pretty that thing is. Even the shadows of these leaves, damn. And it's not even that perfect, but it's pretty tight, right? Like you can see the edges of it and all. But the brush variety within each major shape makes it look really, really cool, right? And artsy, you know. Anyway, here it's more of a traditional. It almost looks like a traditional oil painting to me, right? That's a big architectural thing, right? These are big trees. Fuck. I mean, look at the size of these trunks. Anyway, could be some kind of study, perhaps. Ooh. I mean, it's actually like an actual keyframe of a film, right? Some kind of epic, fantasy, sci-fi film, right? Again, the brush spacing looks cool, right? It adds that manual, like it feels like it was done with a human or by a human being, right? A bit of mixer brush being used or smudge tool, right? Helps to add that kind of random chaos. I'm very interested with his atmospheric. Maybe he's using some kind of brush, custom brush for his dust or clouds, right? To achieve this sort of effect. But yeah. Now this one's a pretty stable shot compared to this thing, right? Ooh. So here we have like witch concepts, I guess. I feel like there was 3D used here just because of the rendering tightness of it all. But again, overall, it feels like he obviously does post-process his 3D renderings because they're often not enough. Like you have to paint over something eventually, right? But it still transfers well and it still looks like his work, you know? The very big swooping brushstrokes, right? That go back and forth. The hue variety, right? Like if you kind of zoom in into each, like even in the shadows, like you can see a lot of hues in it, right? And a lot of leveling work with the adjustment layers, right? The levels adjustment layer. It really helps to make it look like there is a space. No shit. Anyway. Damn. So museum perhaps? Another witch concept. Maybe they're doing some kind of witchcraft, right? And then this chick is just appearing from the rising from the is this a pool? The water thingy? Fuck. I mean, look at the brush spacing here. Very cool. So I'm assuming he uses a lot of blending modes or layer modes for this sort of to achieve this sort of effect, right? I feel like he did this with with the 3D, like a base, and then he painted over it. Fuck. Excusez-moi. Anyway, moving on. Ooh, very complex shot. You're seeing it from below. Reminds me a bit of a Muyang Su. I think that's the Muyang Shu. I did an art review of his work as well. He does mostly environments, right? But he does a lot of these complex shots, right? Well, not a lot, but I've seen like very skewed perspective shots from his work. And yeah, this is another example of a good keyframe shot. Very epic looking, like it's an actual keyframe, like an important frame of this narrative world, right? And again, the sweeping big brushstrokes. I feel like the blending or the mixer brush was used a lot. Even here, right? It almost feels like it was done, like it has that watercolor wash effect, right? And look at how clear the priorities are in this piece. The contrast is in this kind of god person thing, right? Very high contrast. The darkest values are in this person and the lightest values as well, I think, for the most part. And then there's this nice contrast between the cape and this kind of architectural gate feature, right? And look at the amount of hues. There's so many colors in this, right? Obviously, the main things are the blue and the reds, right? Or yellows, right? The mixer brush was definitely used, I think, most likely. And again, the brush spacing, it actually looks really good, you know? And it's more of an illustration for me because it's too nice. Another interesting concept here. Again, the big swooping brushstrokes. Could be photo bashed mainly and then painted over, right? So this could be some kind of spirit, maybe telekinetic person, right? Very, very nice. Again, nice keyframe. And again, look at the aspect ratio of his work. It's kind of a cinematic frame. I think it's 2.39 to 1 ratio. Fuck. Another close-up of this babe, right? It's more about her. Oh shit, there is a creator within the environment, or in the environment. Fuck. She could be some kind of traveler, adventurer, right? And again, look at the clouds, the big back and forth strokes, or just blended in that way, I guess. The brush spacing, right? Mixer brush, I'm guessing. And again, it all feels like maybe he does color grade his images in the end to kind of make it all even more kind of cohesive, right? And again, a bit of noise, I think. Lots of hues here involved. Fuck. Again, very, very opaque type of painting, right? Bold. Here we have cows. Fuck. Mixer brush. Again, that very, very big back and forth kind of strokes being used. And again, it looks so realistic, right? Like it's from a shot from a film. Even if you can still see some of the painting strokes, it feels so real. Look at the blues in this shadow of this cow, right? Very, very interesting. Look at the greens here, the yellows, right? Look at how it gets kind of slightly red in the background, and it has the kind of high exposure thing as you go further away from these cowlets, right? Very, very nice. Look at how the blue was done here for the under lighting. Is that a word? Right? To kind of define the edge of the head. Very, very interesting. And the backlighting in the ears, right? From the sunset or sunrise. Wow. Wow. And look at the amount of textures, right? It's kind of, I think he's using a lot of blending modes to achieve this sort of effect. Again, if you zoom out, you can see this kind of back and forth stroke thing. Very, very common in his work. Wow, he has a lot. Ship design, right? Back and forth, clouds, textured, well blended. Another shot from above, fuck. Some birds to indicate some scale, and obviously the person is there, right? And they're really great keyframes. I think is one of the best. This scene reminds me of the first episode of the Mandalorian, right? The snow scene. This is a cool shot. Some kind of warrior god, and then some guy bowing down in reverence of his presence. I mean, look at the painting technique here. Very, very opaque, right? It's not like super tight. It's painterly, but it's like the edges are kind of clear, right? And again, the big swooping brush and like back and forth strokes. Lots of blending with the mixer brush. Brush spacing is pretty cool. And the way he does his shadows, it's like one big silhouette. If you go back further above, right? A lot of his shadows are kind of just contained within one like shape, right? And it's pretty clear, right? And again, even if there's like one main color theme for each piece, look at the amount of hues in it. It's so colorful. It's pretty subtle, but it's there, you know? And most of his pieces feel full, right? Damn, I mean, look at this scene right here. So we have some warrior insect thingies, aliens, and then a guy with a mask, right? Maybe this is some kind of toxic environment or something. Who knows? And there's so much like scale and massiveness in his work. This could be like a 3D thing. I'm not sure what program he's using here, but yeah. So I think his 3D stuff definitely helps to save time, right? Okay, he modeled most of it in 3D, and then he did the post-processing, which is work in itself, right? In Photoshop, I'm guessing. Most likely. Awesome scene here of umbrellas. Under my umbrella, ella. So these are more of his sketches, daily sketches. This was posted 9 months ago, as of this recording. Right, very, very strong, big brushstrokes, right? Very, very confident, right? Again, with the mixer brush, that kind of vertical stroke thing. Right, again, you can see it here. Vertical strokes, big vertical strokes. And the lighting, I'm not sure where he gets his lighting choices or color choices, or color choices. Fuck. I mean, maybe these could be studies as well, you know. Maybe maybe he does have like a lot of references on the side, right? Look at the shadows here. It's purple, right? Damn. There's some reds here. Like, it's so full of life, right? Mixer brush. Lots of textures. But again, it all falls on, it leans, there's a heavy lean on the realistic side, right? Look at how this whole thing is just like in one shadow or in one shape, right? It has that watercolor kind of effect when it comes to the shadows, right? But whenever you're blending, or whenever he's blending things in light, it starts to become kind of like an oil painting, right? Or gouache painting, right? Here we have a scene of some kind of warrior praying. Beautiful fabrics here. Nice soft lighting, right? Vertical brushstrokes, even in this sort of drapery here, or flags and shit. The shadows here are, you can see a bit of purple, right? Purple. It's so full, again, it's so full of life. And even you can see a bit of that sky being implanted on these massive columns right here, right? Anyway. Oh, these ones are pretty epic. Some kind of warp thing happening here. Some space people, astronauts, and then some alien tentacles thingy. Hentai. Again, look at the shots, look so dynamic and interesting, right? Like, it's so full of energy. Anyway. Shit, I think it's coming out of his mouth, so this guy is dead. Again, mixer brush, right? Big swooping brush strokes. High contrast here, high contrast here. Very, very strong shots. So this android is pretty much dead, right? You can even see that texture, the kind of metallic, foil-like texture of the suits, right? Very, very interesting. Oh wow, his butt is pretty round. Again, big swooping brush strokes, brush spacing. Very, very interesting compositions. Fuck. Here we have another astronaut. And look at the shadow of this plane, right? Some red, some green, some blues. It's like a rainbow, right? Christ. And this one does have the kind of mixed media look to it, right? A bit. Like, it's not that perfect. It's more of he's taking more liberty, I guess. It's still pretty realistic, but there's a bit of stylization when it comes to the blending painting technique, right? The figures are still pretty much realistic. I'm assuming it's based off of a model or photo, but he took liberty with the way it's presented. Reminds me of an artist named, I think, Thomas Dubois or something. He has this kind of mixed media kind of style as well. Now this one's more tight a bit, but again, the big swooping brushstrokes, lots of hues involved. Some dragons, cause reasons, right? Wow, right? Very, very interesting clouds, big swooping brushstrokes, nice contrast. Look at the shadows. Very, very clear shapes when it comes to the shadows, right? Lots of back and forth brushstrokes. The mixer brush being used a lot, but the edges are very, very clear, very, very sharp, right? Clean, but cohesive, right? More space people. These are more 2D with a bit of basic bashing beforehand, I'm guessing. They're kind of above Earth. Maybe these are screenshots from a film? Gravity, maybe? Hard to say. This is pretty cool. Look at the greens, the blues, the reds. Wow. Right? And in this way, you don't even have to paint a lot in the shadow parts, right? All you have to focus on is the areas in light, right? So this could be studies from like films, like film studies, right? Let's go further down. Maybe some 3D, hard to say. Reminds me of the work of John McCoy as well. I did an art review of his work before, and like there's a bit of presentationness to it. Like it's not super tight, right? Like a rendering, but it's painterly, but it's finished, right? You know, I do recommend you check out the work of John McCoy. I did an art review of his work like way back. Even when it comes to his 2D paintings, you know, like studies, I guess, a lot of his work seems very, very nice to look at, you know. Again, brush spacing. You don't have to be afraid to show the imperfection, right? It actually helps to add that sense of yeah. Anyway, that's it for this art review of Yuxing Zhang. Again, he does have an Instagram, he does have a Twitter, and obviously follow him there and follow him on ArtStation as well. So if you're kind of into keyframes, narrative art, I do recommend you check out Yuxing Zhang's portfolio, and yeah, keep training, keep painting, keep learning, and stay free.